Kayla Simmons, thank you for joining us today on Tacos and Trends as we wrap up our season two, The Future is Fractional, and talk about what we learned, what we liked, some key takeaways, and just kind of tell people what's been going on behind the scenes. Thank you for joining me today.
Yay! This has been a long time in the making. We've been working on this for a while.
I feel like too long. As a mentor told me one time before, it's important in your own projects not to be the bottleneck. I have identified myself as a bottleneck in many situations and in this new project as well. But what I wanted to talk about was a little bit that like I feel like what I learned from working with you and how much I appreciated it. So I think,
Oh.
it's hard to be vulnerable and do something new,
Yeah.
especially something that like, has a more public facing piece. And I thought what was amazing working with you is like the constant encouragement, the positive attitude, and also just this like crazy ability to keep it moving. Keep it moving because I think we could both admit if the ball would have like been left fully in my court, this would not get over the finish line. So thank you for that. And
Oh
maybe
my gosh.
Maybe just could I'm, like, so interested. Could you maybe just, like, talk a little bit about, like, what I would call your, like, creative encouragement of, like, "Hey, you can do this," and, like, helping people, like, see the vision from it? Because that I didn't have, but I think you definitely have it.
Yeah. I think something that I've been realizing about myself recently, because I started writing again in a newsletter. I have a new newsletter called Mogul in Progress on Substack. And it's like in it, I'm recounting all of the like different experiences that I've had, like the creative roles. And I'm realizing, like, dang, I've done a lot of stuff. And it's made me realize that I've always been one to kind of just go for it. And I think at first, the root of it was just naivete. Like, I didn't know enough to be nervous. And so I think there was just like this innocent or ignorant, like, courage that I had. And I've just always done it. Like, you just do it. And it's not to say that there's not moments where you like get nervous, because there's definitely been moments where I feel like, what am I doing here? Like, how did I get here? But I think I don't worry about that until after I'm already there. And so, like, I'm
Oh,
just so
interesting.
focused on getting to the next phase where it's like, I'll imposter syndrome, like, we're going to table you for now. We're just going to try to get here. I think my ambition overrides the nervousness.
I like that, it's because so ambition is, like, such a funny thing, right? And I think it can have that effect which it has on you to, like, override the nerves, or the ambition could be, like, paralyzing as well, right? Because I think and I know from, like, working with you as well, like, people can completely a lot of ambitious people also suffer from, like, a lot of perfectionism, and
Mhm.
so and I think the thing is, like, you have to just keep telling yourself over and over again, right? Like, it's, like, part of the and I think that's, like, what we were talking about in the beginning whenever we first met is, like, creative journeys, right? Are, like, about, like, being on the journey always, and it's, like,
Yeah.
not always about, like, the end. I think as well, though, what I thought was interesting, and I always, like, task myself to do, but I literally never do, is I think what's interesting as well is, like, what I would call, like, controlled creativity because I think there's, like, a lot of,
Mhm.
like, creative people who could just be like, "Oh, I have this idea," and I mean, you've met me. I'm like, "I have this idea," and then I'm like, "Oh, there's a bunny over there," and like, "Wait, but someone told me this. Oh, can you look at that?" But there's I think which is cool and great, but, like, if you're trying to run a business, right, there has to be, like, a moment of,
Right.
like, "Okay, here's the creative window." Then we stop the creative and then we do the work because this is our job, right? Otherwise, there's things that are hobbies, but if it's like your profession, and I feel like what you're like so good at doing is like the prep work. So like I think you also have this like creativity that's like always on. But what I saw, and I've seen you like a lot of your own projects as well. You're like, okay, here's what the to your point exactly. Here's the end goal, and then you like work backwards and forwards, and it like actually exists like in Google Docs outside of your brain and you can like reference it and then it also like almost just like gives you the steps to follow. Like I feel like that is a superpower
Yeah.
because like in my head I know I should do that and I'm like yeah, I did that and it's somewhere in here but like actually putting it on paper which sometimes in the end doesn't even take that long to put it on paper but like
Yeah.
once it exists I feel like it's so much easier to action and whenever you have like creative distractions or you like suffer from perfectionism or you become the bottleneck you're like okay back to the roadmap. which I think
Yeah.
people don't always talk about like a roadmap for like creative output, but I think it's a very helpful tool.
It's absolutely essential, and I feel like a lot of creatives struggle with it, like, because we're all dreamers in a sense, and I think part of it is just, like, it depends on the way that people are wired, and that's why it's always important to be self-aware about what type of creative you are. Because
Yeah.
for me, I know that I'm more on the type A side, so the way that my brain works is when I have an idea, I must get it out and I have to put it down somewhere. Whereas someone else, like their brain may not work that way. They could have so many great ideas and it could be so granular, the vision in their head, but their thought process isn't, oh, let me put this down.
Yeah.
But I'm aware enough to know that if I put it down, then I'm going to circle back and then I'm going to start taking action. And so I
Yeah.
think it really comes down to just being self aware about what your habits are and first instinct after you have the idea.
Yeah. No, that's really great. That's really great. No, and it's true. There are different types of creatives, but I think I would even make the argument though, whatever type of creative you are, this like roadmap helps because
Oh,
I
yeah.
think as I'm not really a roadmap type, if someone makes a roadmap, I can follow it more or less with
Right.
constant encouragement and lots of text messaging, which I'm sure you can confirm. But I think as well, I think, what I think the other part of the roadmap is it also helps you see like where you're like, like the conversation we had the other day is like, oh, like that's outside my skill set. Like I want to get to this goal, but we're not going to get there if this is left to me. And I think if you're a creative and also if you're like a female entrepreneur, sometimes it's like hard. I mean, maybe for everyone, it's like hard to ask for help sometimes and be
Oh,
like, ooh,
absolutely.
like I'm not going to get that done. Like I feel like when I called you the other day and I was like, I'm not going to get that lift done. Like I like swayed around about that call for like a few minutes because I was like, could I do it? Could I? And then I was like, I have a plan. It's much better to say like, I'm not going to get this done, or like, I need help. What you were like, oh yeah, that's easy. And I was like, oh my God, I'd been like over here like sweating and you're like, t t t t t t t t t t done. And I was like, I will say you were like, oh, that's not a lot of work. And then I saw a multi-page Google Doc and I was like, that wasn't coming out of my brain ever. So I was like, okay, maybe like apples and banana. I don't know. But I was like, oh, okay. I
I
was
am a
like,
bit dramatic. I feel like that's one area where all of anybody who's worked with me and all my friends make fun of me for. Like, I'm the queen of being like, "Oh, yeah, it was just something simple." And meanwhile, it's this, like, whole detailed, granular thing. But in
yeah, it
my
was good.
mind yeah, I don't know.
No,
I'm
but
weird like
maybe
that.
that's like no, that's like your superpower, right? Is like something
Yeah,
that's like complex. You can break it down like into like more simple pieces. Cause I think in the end, like no matter what type of work you're doing or like creativity, right? It's like really like you have to be able to communicate it and you have to have like a tool to communicate it and like build with. So I thought that was very, very, very it's been like a very interesting experience for me to be like completely outside of my comfort zone. Highly
right.
recommended, but like there's some stress involved with it, right? And there's like some you can get cold feet and want to back out. So I think someone who's like, oh no, like can see the vision as well. And it's like, okay, let's just keep going. And I think that's really helpful. I also thought was helpful, just like a quick plug. I think as well, like talking about this doing like pre-work to like any creative project. I love this like toolkit that you shared of like, okay, before you even start down this like podcast journey, here are like the tools you need. Here's like a brief like things to consider like for success. So I love this like podcast toolkit. For me was incredibly helpful. I like begged that we share it out with people. So we'll hit a
Yeah.
link below. But I think just sometimes when you're like an outside voice of like where to start, which is interesting because I think, when a lot of the women who we interviewed during
Yeah,
this season, they like everyone whenever you want to do something new, no one knows exactly where to start. I think that was like a common
exactly.
line, right? A lot of women in this fractional space have like transitioned out of like a similar role and they kind of
Mhm.
so it was easier to like roll into like offering that outside of their corporate lives. But I think then once you're there and you kind of see what you want to do with it, it's hard to make the changes. And it's also
Yeah.
just like hard to know what the next step is.
It is hard. I think, like, it's especially hard when you are creating the blueprint that you're trying to follow and you
Totally.
don't have a prior example to reference. I've found that the easiest way to try and combat that is to reverse engineer your goals. So, even if you may not know exactly where to start, you have an idea of where you wanna land. You have an idea of where you wanna end up, and so then it becomes a thing of like, okay, well, what's the step before that? And then what's the step
Yeah.
before that? And then somewhere you'll land at, okay, well, this is the first step that I should take.
That's I think that's, like, such, like, a hot take as well because it's, like, reverse engineering your goals. Like, it sounds simple, but whenever you think about it because I think all the women on all the episodes, right, everyone's trying to figure out, to use your word, like, the blueprint for, like, what their new work model looks like, and I would make the argument from all the research we did and all the different people we spoke to during this, like, series is that really what there's, like, the bigger, rhetoric is, like, this idea of, like, what's the new, like, blueprint for like women in the workplace. Like women, we don't want like I think there was a moment, not to get on like the feminism like soapbox, but there was a moment whenever like all the women just kind of wanted a seat at the men's table. But
Yeah.
I think now really it's like, oh well, that table wasn't made for us and our lives and our goals and how we work and how we thrive. So I think you're really I think there's a lot of other factors as well. But I think if you like peel back the layers, there's a lot of that like women want a blueprint for success like and they want to define success themselves, they want to define their goals, they want to define how they work. I don't think they're looking to like give any less, but just a model made by men, dominated by men, presented by men isn't like perfect for all of us. It could be at some point in your career, but there's also like I think once you're out
There's
there
so
you're
many
like you
nuances.
get some ideas about how to do stuff, right? Like that there's different ways, but it's true, and without a blueprint, it is really hard to do things. We always talk about this in, like, my team, like, whenever we're, like, working on a new project or anything, you do need that blueprint because, for example, like, it's a silly example, but, if suddenly the apples and oranges at the grocery store were in the frozen food department, like, would you ever find them? So it has to be, like you have to make your own blueprint, but with, like, some guidelines of, within these parameters, but
Yeah.
whenever it's, like, limitless, right, of, like, what you could do in theory, I think really putting, like, pen to pad, or I guess that makes me sound old, like, type to Google Doc.
I mean, I still put pen to pad, so, like, I do it all.
I just was like, "Let me write that down." It's been brought to my attention that the podcast is called Tacos and Trends, and we've now had two seasons with very little trend talk. So I think the
Yeah.
plan is season 3, lots of trends, lots of people from the trend space, more creatives. And speaking of trend, I thought maybe I would hit you with a few that's a trend or that's not.
I'm so ready. Let's go.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So they're going to be all over the place. So prepare yourself. Let me start with something easy. Collaborating or working on your own. Which one's the trend?
I think right now, collaborating is the trend.
Totally. Totally. I think that as well. And like sharing as well. What about inclusivity versus exclusivity?
I think that we'd like to say that inclusivity is the trend, but I think reality shows that exclusivity is the trend.
Yeah. I feel like people want inclusivity, but they want the exclusive access to it, which is
Yeah.
like such an
Like, they wanna
oxymoron.
be included in the exclusive stuff.
Yeah, but they like that it's inclusive up until that point. Agreed.
Right. Like, only inclusive of you.
Okay, okay. We're gonna move away. We're moving all over the place here. So salon nails or press-ons?
Press-ons.
I know, right?
I'm a year into the press-on craze.
I know everyone's converting. Everyone's converting. Having a side hustle or diving right in and making it like your full-time gig.
I feel like everyone's been forced to dive in to make it their full-time gig, so I feel like that's kind of more the trend these days.
No, I think it's true. I think it's people's hands have been forced. I think that's like very, very well said. And what about working from home or working in an office?
I think, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your preference, I think working in office is the more popular trend right now. I'm seeing more of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that employers are like demanding but then like
Yeah.
the employees are actually like the content is like really responding and people I think like the real takeaway is like this like flexibility is what's really interesting,
Yeah.
right? I think if I had to put like a trendy term on everything is like everyone wants something that's like flexible, like flex work from home, work from office because if there isn't an office for them ever to go to, then they're like also upset. So I think this
Yeah.
like just letting people like work like trusting people to be their best selves. I think there's like always some people who like break that rule, but I
Mhm.
think that that's like really what we see this like new generation of employees are looking for. Okay, working with friends or not working with friends. Which one?
Okay, it depends. Like, I feel like that can get muddy really quickly. Um, I 'cause I would consider us friends, but then it's, like, weird
Yeah.
because we met on a professional
That's
tip
wait, I was
first.
just gonna say that as well. I was like, I feel like if you're like, oh, with your friends who you already have like an established friendship with and like how that relationship works, if you try and layer on like professional pursuits, I think it can get like very, very messy. But I think over like, especially even just since starting Tacos and Trends, it's offered like a new opportunity in my like professional life. And I would 100% consider you a friend. And I feel like it
Yeah.
was amazing to find, and I honestly feel like that's kind of what, like, women are looking for is, like, "Hey, can we, like, take over the world together? Like, how can we collaborate? How can we, like, support each other?" So, no, I would say, like, starting professional and, like, ending up as, like, personal friends is,
Yeah,
like,
I like
great surprise and joy.
I would agree.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay, so podcasts, working with a producer or not working with a producer?
Think unless you are a producer, working with a producer always gives the best. Even if you are, that like having that other person there to just help keep things moving and help provide perspective, it's always helpful.
Definitely, definitely. I feel like because that's like what, with like Catalyria as well, we were talking about in like in her episode and talking about social media and like, it's hard with all of these things as well. Like also since so much happens in like a digital place is also like
Yeah.
accountability and how do you hold yourself accountable. Just speaking about Catalyria as well, I spoke to her the other day and I feel like we need to drop again her 30-day social media challenge, which I was
Yes.
totally provoked her to make, and then I did nothing. So I've asked her if we could like my type A personality, my brain it's like spinning in my brain. It's like living rent free when I should be sleeping. I really dropped the ball on that. So I've asked her if we could respin it again and like I don't know, maybe we need to like maybe there needs to be a prize. We need to figure out like more. I think you need to be like, accountable, and then if you're incentivized as well, like,
Yeah.
I feel like there used to be an incentive of, like, just doing stuff was enough, but now I feel like, no, like, I need a gift certificate at the end, maybe I need to go to the
Something I can hang
spa.
on the wall. Yeah.
Exactly. A trophy, a T-shirt that says, like, I actually did it. I actually
Yeah.
posted to social media for 30 days.
Merch.
Totally, totally. So tell me what else tell us really quick what else you have, like, cooking right now, and also tell everyone, like, where they can find you, what's happening, what's cooking.
Yeah. Well, right now I am working on writing my debut novel. Um,
Love it.
yeah, yeah. And so doing that, also working with clients like the lovely Autumn,
Thank you.
like helping bring their series to life, whether it's podcast, digital series, the whole nine. So working with them. Yeah, I've got this podcast starter kit that we have for you guys. It'll be in the show notes and everywhere, so you can access it if you're interested in starting a podcast. I think it's also helpful even if you're not labeling it a podcast or it's more of a general digital series. The same thing applies. And so that resource will be there for you going through the entire production process from soup to nuts, all 5 phases. And so you guys can access that. If you want to work with me, you can hit me up, email me, create at fifthorigin.com. And it's the number 5th. It's not the word fifth spelled out. So create at fifthorigin.com. I'm on Instagram at my name everywhere. Mogul in Progress. I have my Substack newsletter. That's like a diary because I'm a mogul in progress. So like that's all I've got cooking right now.
Oh, only that. I
Only.
mean, only that. That's all. So many things cooking. I mean, well, good. We should get some more. We are going to need to find some more things for you to do. Kayla, this has been amazing experience. I feel like we're just getting started. I'm already like
Yes.
so excited to work on the next season. I'm excited for the event and I'm excited to roll this out so everyone can hear the amazing guests we had and that they can stay tuned for more coming from Tacos and Trends. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.